inviting us. I realized this week that I'm in the women's empowerment session. And then I started thinking, what does that mean? What is my perspective? And I thought about the discussion I had with my partner at the dinner table. And I asked him, darling, maybe we could start eating a little bit less meat. And he's thinking, why? I'm saying, well, darling, the cows are farting. It causes methane emissions. He pauses for quite some time and then says, well, what if we put a tank on the back of the cow and then we put a pipe so that we capture the methane and we solve this? And I said, yes, that's a very innovative, creative solution. But what if we think about the whole system? What if we go to the roots and reduce eating of meat? So today my perspective will be, how do you come from single designs into the systemic impact? But this is how it sometimes feels. Whether you're a sustainability manager or a product designer, logistics manager, you face a huge system and you need to start thinking, where do I go to make an impact? And you, especially in a smaller company, you have little resources, but the time is also running out. We have 8 years to go, and we have tons of carbon emissions to save. So how do we start? There were a couple of things that started to worry me when I looked into the system. And the first one was that our design is going to the wrong direction. This article is talking about how we go fast and furious. We make faster bikes, we make bigger batteries, bigger motors, but they are not very practical because you have a certain type of infrastructure in the cities. So what is the purpose of that? And this has a cost. You make a bigger battery, you have more lithium needs, that has an environmental cost that is bigger. And how is that cost usually calculated? Is the product carbon footprint. Now, Tesla has done an amazing job for EV design, but the point of this article is that carbon footprints are really complex. When you see this one number that is representing the carbon footprint of a car or a bike, you don't actually know before you dig deeper what goes into it, how is it calculated. So you cannot compare one product to another unless you dive deep into this. So how do we start working with this? We cannot really not do anything because time is running out. And it's urgent that we start to work on it. But we have the tools to start working on it. We have the eco-design tools. And here we have roughly 3 ways how we can start to improve the design. The first one is the simple life cycle thinking. That is an approach that every single company can use. Then you have the most complex approach, which is the life cycle analysis. And then you have things in between. We will today talk about the first life cycle analysis and the thinking part. Now, if we go to ampler philosophy and life cycle thinking, that's where every company can start. For our bikes, this is the value chain. You cover all the phases, you look into the whole value chain from the raw material extraction, component production, all the way to the use of the bike and waste treatment, so the final process. You look into it and see what are the environmental impacts in all these life cycle phases. And you have the material flowing, and ideally, you would also have the information flowing. But this is a bit of a challenge when you go back to the supply chain. Now, we have a workaround. Let's also look into that. But first, you see that, well, this is not a cycle. Ideally, it looks like this. the material at the end of the life is going back to the production. So you repurpose the materials instead of all the materials going to waste. So, how do you start improving this? How many of you have seen the eco-design strategy wheel? Hands up. No one? Oh, there's one. Perfect. So the eco-design strategy wheel is really useful when you start to look into where can I make a change in the different phases of the product life cycle. The first one is to optimize the function. The function means purpose. So what is the problem we try to solve? What is the purpose of our product? How do we optimize that it fits the purpose? We will go back to that. Then it's about looking into the materials, distribution, all the way to optimizing the end of life. What we have done, for example, to optimize the production is that we brought our painting line in-house. That's how we can control the quality, we can be flexible, what to paint, when to paint. That helps to optimize the materials also. And in the distribution part, we implemented a logistics software called Cargozone that can help us to look into the carbon footprint of the different options. What if I choose a train in comparison to air freight? So we can start to make informed decisions there to optimize. But optimizing the function might sound a little bit cryptic, so let's stay there a little bit. This is our bike Stellar. And if you think about the average use case of the bikes, for example, me, my commute to work is about 10 kilometers. There is a certain bike lane that I can use, so the speed remains in 20 kilometers, 25. And I go back, I go to the work and I come back. So I need enough battery to do that, but I don't need too much because it doesn't have a purpose for this kind of trip. And then again, there are stairs when I go to work. So the bike is lightweight. You can carry it easily on top of the stairs. So you don't have these obstacles anymore that we have in the cities for bikes. Then I got the question from our product designers. So we have used all this philosophy, what can we do next? And what can we do next is look into the life cycle analysis and get some numbers. Now this is a sneak peek that you are getting. Our LCA report is coming out in a few weeks. But what is the point of the LCA is that you can find where you have the hot spots, where we really should be focusing our work. And what can be surprising here is that the production of the spare parts across the life cycle of 40,000 kilometers using the bike is actually a big hotspot. It's also the production of the parts and the transportation, mainly because of aluminium and air freight. But this takes a long time to do an LCA, and it doesn't make sense that every company does this because we need to move faster. So how do we get to bigger impact and go there faster? We have these bigger issues to work on because, yes, we can work on the product carbon footprint, but what matters is the positive impact. How do we use the bikes? And these are the factors that influence that. What's inspiring me is in Malmö, in Sweden, for example, they have made a district that is very walkable. It's easy to bike there. In Utrecht, you have a lot of bike networks there. It's easy to do this. It's easy to grow this biking culture. In Helsinki, I come from Finland, so now I might be a bit biased here, but in Helsinki, they are shifting the city from car-dominated into human-friendly. And it's about bikes, but not just about bikes. It's making bikes on the same page, equally, treating them equally. So, We need to shift from creative thinking to analytical thinking, learning the facts and where to make the difference. But here we need to be a little bit faster. And that's why we are making the life cycle analysis as transparent and open as possible, because we want to speed up other companies' work in this. And that's how we can get from this competitive approach to a more collaborative approach. And the point is that we move faster together and we focus on the big picture. So the big question is, how can we improve the access to core social functions like food and work, and at the same time get to net zero? We have the eco-design tools that every company should be using. We have the LCA and other solutions that we need to free up so that we can go faster. And then we need to focus where we can really make the biggest positive impact. Thank you.